Okay, so hi everybody. So today's webinar is regarding how to create more efficiency the add-ons within a catalog. So let me share. I'm going to share the PowerPoint presentation. So the agenda for today is we're going to go through the manufacturer info menu. And then the variable properties, the export and the import properties. The variable validation, so we have different return types for the variable validation. We have logic, dimension, conditional, enum, and bit field. We're going to talk also about the ask variable, the accessories with no access 3D or attachment shape, the access 3D shape, the attachment shape, the different relation types, conditional, ask add-on, implicit, and we will complete the presentation with the cabinet door, drawer, door pull, and drawer pull count, the add-on quantity to set properly, and finally the conclusion. So let's get started. So regarding the manufacturer info, so when there's no add-on relation that are created, and if the option add-on relation required under the manufacturer info menu is unselected, so this is the option that we see here. So if this option is unselected, and if there's no add-on relation created in the catalog, all the add-ons listed under the link code attachment will be available in the items under the item attributes. If you select this option, this will avoid the purpose of creating a no option add-on, which we often see in the catalog. So if we go in 2020 under the catalog tool, for the goal for this purpose, I have not created any relations on the base panel level. So if we go under the manufacturer info, the add-on relation required is checked. So if we go on one of the panel in the item attributes and go under the add-on tab, there's no add-on listed because we need the relations to be displayed here in the item attribute. But if I unselect under the manufacturing info, if I unselect add-on relation required, click on OK. If I go back in my panel item attribute and go under the add-on tab, all the add-ons from the catalog will be listed. All the add-ons that are listed under the link code attachment in the catalog will be listed. So this is for the manufacturer info. For the variable properties, the export property must be checked when we need to modify something on the owner. It could be for the 3D representation or the number of drawers that we want to modify on the owner. The variables from an attachment shape or an access 3D dispatcher, and it's very important here, for the dispatcher should never be exported to their owner, since these consist of separate and distinct shape on their own. Only the variables that have to modify something on the owner should be exported. So let's say, for example, that we has an access 3D recycle bin, for example, to add in a base cabinet. And we would like to remove the interior shelf of the cabinet before adding the recycle bin access 3D. So the access 3D itself, if it's a dispatcher, its variable should not be exported to the owner, but the number of shelves equals to 0 to remove the cabinet shelf should be exported, because this is something that we want to modify on the owner. It's not for the access 3D itself, it's to modify the owner. So we need to export those variables which are related to the owner graphical representation. The owners should never have exported variables because this might cause issues with 2020 design. The variables should instead be imported from the add-ons. I've seen some catalogs with different variables on the cabinet having the import or the export properties, and this should not be set up this way, because it might cause problem in 2020 design. So if you need any information, if on the add-on you need an information from the owner, you need to import the variable, and if you need to modify something on the owner, you need to export the information, but never on the owner. On the other hand, the import property must be checked when an information is needed from the owner. A variable should never have the export and import properties checked together, except when the variable is referring to itself in her expression. As an example, we often have style door wall equals to style door wall plus glass. So since style door wall is referring to itself in her expression, we need to import and export this variable, but only when the variable is referring to itself in her expression. Otherwise, variables should never have the export and import properties at the same time. When a variable is referring to specific variables in its expression, these variables must be imported separately to gather the information from the owner. So if we see the example below, the attachment origin and height for our accessory, for our add-on, so its expression is toe height plus floor thick. So then we need to insert toe height separately and set his variable properties to import. Same thing for floor thick. We need to insert floor thick separately and then set its property to import. So each different variable that will be specified within the variable expression, it could be for another variable than attachment origin and height. It could be any other variable. So every time you're referring to a variable in an expression, you need to insert separately this variable and then import, select the import property to gather the information from the owner. The owner, same thing has the export. The owner should never have the imported variable for 2020 design issues. The variable should be exported from the add-ons instead. So same thing as for the export property. For the variable validation, the validations define a range of possible values for a given variable and prevent the user from specifying invalid values. When the return value of a validation is the same type as the variable, the system does not only accept or reject the data entry, it will also validate the entered value by the user according to the validation rule. So as an example, if we have the height variable, the height variable is a variable type of dimension. So if we specify a validation for the height and the validation return type is set to dimension, the system will validate the value entered by the user. So it will not only accept or reject the value, it will validate it. On the other hand, for the same variable height, which is a dimension variable, if we use a validation return type logic, then since they have two different types, the system will only accept or reject the value, but he will not validate with the validation rule. So I'm going to show you different examples that I have created in 2020 to show you how the validations are working. So the first one, the maximum height is 48 with a validation type of logic. So the validation expression, since it's a logic type, will be value is less or equal to 48. So if the user type 54, the system will reject and assign the latest value, which is 34 and a half. Let's go in 2020 design. Dimension one. The dimension or the logic? Okay, sorry, I skipped one page. Okay, the logic one here. So the validation has been set on the height. So let's put, as an example, let's try 54. Which is invalid. So the system, well, in this case here, I don't know, when I was testing, the system is assigning 5 to the base cabinet, and I don't know why, but it should be 34 and a half, which is the original value. So it's not, the system is not putting 48, which is the maximum allowed for this cabinet. The system is rejecting the value that has been entered. Let's go in catalog tools. I just want to see if this is going, if we're going to have the same issue here. The validation. Would probably be the same thing. So let's see, 54. Yeah, so we're having the same issue here. So the system in this case is rejecting the value. But I will investigate to see why the system is giving 5 instead of 34 and a half, which is the original, the latest value that was specified for the height. The logic. The other example for a logic type, return type validation. So the maximum here, the maximum height is 48 and the minimum height is 18. So we have a return type validation of logic. The validation expression will be value is higher or equal to 18 and value is less or equal to 48. So if you type 15, the system will reject and assign the latest value, which is 34 and a half, the original value. Same thing, if you type 54, the system will reject and assign the latest value to 34 and a half. Whoops. I didn't want to click on 2020 design because I'm already in catalog tool. So let's edit the logic example, the example with the logic validation. So if we type, we're not going to try the 54 because that's what we did previously and was assigning 5. So I'm going to get back to you on this one. So if we try to type 15, the system is rejecting the 15. So that's what the system should have done with the 54. He should assign 34 and a half, which is the latest, the original value. So 15, we see that it's highlighted in red because it's not a valid value according to the validation rule. So it's only rejecting the value because the height is a dimension variable, and the validation that we have set on the height variable is has a return type of logic. So since they have two different types, like we said previously, the system will only accept or reject the value, but will not validate the value. But there's a way to validate, and I'm going to show it to you. So if we go back to the PowerPoint presentation, validations with the return type dimension. So first example, the maximum height is 48. So we set the variable property to dimension. The variable, the validation expression will be minimum, open parentheses, value 48, close parentheses. So if the user types 54, the system will assign 48, which is the maximum value. So it's one step further. Instead of only rejecting the value, he will assign the maximum that has been specified in the validation rule, with the validation rule. So if we go here, just to give you an example, if we go in the variable validation for the height, so the return type is set to dimension, and then we have specified the expression for the validation, which is the maximum 48. So if we go in the item attribute, and for the height, let's type 54. This one here, I need to verify with the R&D, but we can click on continue. The system is assigning 48, which is the maximum height that has been specified in the validation rule. Example number 2 is mainly the same thing. Hold on, I just scrolled up. Okay, so example number 2 is mainly the same thing. The only difference is that we have a minimum height of 18. So the maximum height is 48 and the minimum height is 18 for the height. So same thing for the validation type dimension. So if we go in the height validation, it's the dimension type, return type. So this is the expression to have a minimum and a maximum value for the height. So if we go in the item attribute and try to type 15, for example, again, we're going to have the little message here, but the system is assigning 18, which is the minimum value allowed. And same thing for the maximum, same thing as we did previously. If we type 50, for example, it's not changing. same message here, but the system is assigning 48. Whoops. Going back to the PowerPoint presentation, the example number 3 is the same thing as the 2 previous ones, but we have increments of 1.5 between the minimum 18 and the maximum 48. So if we go in catalog tools, go in the variable validation, so we have the type dimension, and this is the expression here to have a minimum, a maximum value, and the increments here, which are 1.5. It could be 3, 4, 5, whatever. So if we go in the item attribute, if we, for example, for the height, let's say let's type 25, which is between the minimum and the maximum, 18 and 48, so 25 should be an available value, but it needs to be in increments of 1 and 1.5. So the system will reject that value and will assign the nearest value available according to the validation rule. So our little message here. So the system has assigned 25 and 25.5, which is the nearest value for the 25 that we have specified at the beginning. No, this one here. Okay, the other example, the maximum width is 24, the minimum width is 9, and the increments are not equal. So it's always a validation return type of dimension. This is the expression here that we need to set. So we have our minimum 9, our maximum 24.5. I'll have to update the PowerPoint here because we have 24 and here 24.5. And we have the different increments here that are specified, which are not equal. So we have 9, 12, 12.5, 15, 18, 18.5. And so on. So if I go back in 2020 catalog tool, just going to enlarge a little bit. So this is example number 4. Well, let's show the validation width, which has been specified to a return type dimension, and this is the expression that we are having here. So we have the possible values 9, 12, 12.5, 15, 18, 18.5, 21, 24, and 24.5 between, which are available between the minimum and the maximum. So these are the only possible values that can be set, that can be specified by the user. So if we go in the item attribute for the width that we have specified that validation, so let's type, for example, 15. So 15 was not listed in the possible values. Oh no, 16, sorry, my mistake. If we type 16, okay, hold on, I'm just going to, for the width, I'm editing the right one, typing 16. Okay, I don't know why this one is not. Let me just verify dimension 24, 5. So if we type 16, logically the system should return 15, which is the nearest value. available in the range that has been specified here. I don't know why. Was working this morning. Let me try just another time to see. No. Now let's go in 2020 design to see if this is going to work properly. Otherwise, I'll have to see, maybe I have something with the validation that is not set properly, but dimension, it's the fourth one. So let's type 16. So the system has assigned 15, which is the nearest value between within the range value that we have specified for that variable. Okay, the other example is no maximum and no minimum height specified, but with increments of 1/4. So we don't need any minimum or maximum, but we want to have increments of 1/4. So if we place example number 5, so for the height, if we are increasing or decreasing the height, we're having 1/4 increment here. But we can go up to whatever height. We can go less also, because we don't have any minimum or maximum values that have been specified, but it's always going to be in 1/4 increments. The other example is a drawer box. So we have the validation on the drawer case height variable. So the drawer box is available at specific heights: 1 3/4, 3.5, and 5.5. So this is the expression, the validation expression to set in this case. So range value 1 3/4, 3.5, 5.5. So if we go, so this is example number 6. So if we go here for the drawer case height, which should be under the jar menu. So drawer case height here. So if I go down, we have 3.5. Whoops. 3.5, and then we have 1/4. So we're not able to go less than 1 3/4, because this was our smallest value. So going up 3.5, 5.5, and we cannot go higher than 5.5, which are the 3 values that we have specified for the jar box. So this example here is a little bit the same thing, but we are referring to variables in the validation expression. So the maximum height for a drawer box is 10 inch plus the drawer bottom tick, and the minimum height is 3 inch plus the drawer bottom tick with 1 inch increment. So this is the same thing, same behavior, but we're just referring to other variables in the validation expression here. Okay, for the back peninsula panels, we can set We often have back-end peninsula panels, 4 foot by 8 foot. So, and if the width is more than 4 foot long, then the height should not be higher than 4 foot. So we have a way of expressing these validation rules. So it should be a return type dimension. The width validation expression should be set like this, with the maximum 96 for 8 foot and the minimum 48 for 4 foot. And for the height validation expression, it should be this expression here. So if we go, I'm going to delete those items here on the floor plan. I will draw a wall, add an elevation view, and I will, no, the peninsula back panel. So let's say that we have a width less than 4 foot. Okay, hold on. I'm always having difficulty with the stretchable, no. I'm trying to stretch the item. I was able to do it this morning, but I'm trying to stretch the item. Okay, it's like that. Okay, so since the panel width is less than 4 foot, we are able to extend its height to 96-inch height. But if we do the opposite, if we place the back panel and, whoops. So if we stretch the width of the back panel to 96, then the height, the maximum height will be 48, because this is the it's the maximum, since the width is larger than 4 foot. So when we have those kind of back panels, it's nice to have those validation for the 4 foot by 8 foot back panels. I'll go back in Catalog Tools to show you the next validation, which will be a quantity return type. Okay, so return type quantity. Okay, so in this case here, for UQ5 variables, the possible values are 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 13, 15, 16, or 17. So these are the only possible values that can be specified. So this is the expression that can be set to cover all those possible values. So between 1 and 3, 8, 9, 13, and between 15 and 17. So if we go on the UQ5 validation to see the expression, so this is a range, 8, 9, 13, and the range between 15 and 17. The quantity return type. So if we go in the item attribute, so for the UQ5 we have 1, which was unavailable, 2, 3, then we are going to 8, which is the next available value, 9, then 13 we had, then the next one was 15, 16, and 17, and we're not able to go higher than that. So these are the different possible values for the UQ5 variable. So this was one of the examples for return type quantity. The next one is a conditional validation. So we can put conditions within the variable validation expression. So conditions may be specified in variable validation to restrict valid values based on previous selection. So in this example here, when UQ1 equals to 1, the maximum I think it was for the height, the maximum height will be 48. If UQ1 is not equal to 1, then the maximum height will be 36. So this is the expression to set in this case here. So if we go in catalog tools, dimension return type, and then it's example number 8. So just to give you an example here, I just want to see, whoops, for the validation for the height. So this is the expression, dimension return type. So in this case here, UQ1 equals to 1. So when UQ1 equals to 1, our maximum for the height should be 48. So if we try to type 49, the system is assigning 48, which is the maximum. If we go back, well, I could have done it in the item attribute, sorry. So if we go back with UQ1 equals to 0, now our maximum height should be 36. So if we try to type 37, the system is assigning 36. So this was to give you an example and just to let you know that we can specify conditions in the variable, in the validation expression. The next one is a little bit more complex than the previous one. So it's still conditional variable conditional validation. So in this example here, we have a filler that can be, we have two ask variables. So when we are placing the filler, the system is prompting the user to select the width of the filler between 3 and 6 inch wide. And then the system is also asking for the filler type. So do you want a standard or a fluted filler? In this example here, the fluted option is not available with a filler of 6 inch wide. So these are the expressions that we need to set for the given variables. I'm going to go in catalog tools. It's going to be maybe a little bit more visual. So this is for the filler, which is under, okay. So for the filler here, the two ask variables that we have, so one for the filler width, which we and we are using the filler width variable to ask for the width. So we have the possibility of having 3 and 6, but 6 only if the fluted option has not been selected. So the filler type standard or fluted is driven by our FQ flex quantity 49 variable. So this is why we are referring to this variable here in the validation expression. So for the filler width, we have the option of having 3 and 6 only if the fluted option has not been selected. And for the FQ49 variable. We're going to do a little bit the opposite. So we have here, we have the options of standard, and then we have also the option for fluted, but only if the filler width is not equal to 6. So this is the nomenclature, this is the format, how to write the validation expression. And those two variables, the filler width and the flex quantity 49, has been set to enum return type. And I'm going to show you the end result. So when we add this filler, we have the FQ49 variable, which has a caption string. Please specify the filler type, and then we have the enum return type. So we have the option of standard or fluted. And then we have the other question, please specify the filler width, and we have the option of 3 and 6 inch. So let's select, for example, here, fluted. Then for the filler width, the only possible option is 3 inch wide. If we go back, select standard here, we're gonna say 6 inch wide here for the filler width. So if we go see the filler type validation, we only have the possible type for standard. The fluted option is not valid anymore because we have selected since 6 inch wide for the filler width. Just before we go further, do you have any questions regarding the presentation so far? Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so validation with return type of enum, like we saw previously with the base filler. Hold on. Just want to take the proper page here. Okay. So in our previous example for the base filler, we saw an enum validation return type, which is a drop-down list. So the enum is a drop-down list that prevents the user to select more than one option. So below are a few examples. We have the filler type that we have seen previously. I also have the valence type in the catalog, so I can show you. I have created for the base open shelf. So if we go in the items attribute of the base open shelf and then select a valence add-on. So we're having here, by selecting the valence add-on, we have an ask variable asking to select the valence file. This is our drop-down list, which is an enum validation return type. So we have the possibility of having a decorative valence here, or we can go back, edit the add-on here on the left side, click on the drop-down list. This one here was, this one here is the decorative, and this one here is the arch one. So this is an enum validation. So you can have many different options. You can have 3, 4, 5 different options, but you can only select one in the drop-down list. You cannot select multiple options. We also use this type of drop-down list, the enum validation, for add-ons which we need to specify the site application left, right, and both. So I just want to see if I had created an example for a left, right, and both. Oh yeah, the towel bar, if I recall correctly. So if we go, for example, on the base door drawer, it's in the add-on. Going to be in the base internal accessories, pull-out towel bar. We click on the pull-out towel bar. So please specify site application. So we have our drop-down list, our enum. So we have left or right, because in this case, it's very rare. Yeah. It's very rare that we're going to have a towel bar on both sides. Well, we could have for other type of accessories, we could have the options for left, right, and both, since we can only select one of them. So if we want to have the accessory, let's say an end panel, we would like to have it on the left and on the right side, we could select the both options, and then it would apply on both sides. So this is the enum validation. Now the bit field validation. The bit field are checkbox that allow multiple options to be selected. We have a few examples of these. So we can see also the screen capture with the enum variables. So I'm going to show you in 2020 design what it looks like. Or just before we go in 2020 design, I will show you how we set the variable expression, the validation expression. So here, in this example, we have UQ5 that we have been using with the caption string, please select site application. So here, if we click, we have the left, the right, and here I have just added this option for our presentation purpose. But both is no more necessary because you can select the left and the right at the same time. It's different from the enum, from the drop-down list, which we are only able to select one option. In the bit field case, we can select multiple options at the same time. So the both option is not necessary anymore. So in this case here, it's only an example. UQ5 is not doing anything graphically, but I'm going to go in 2020 design and I'm going to show you one or two examples with bit field variables. I'm adding a base door drawer on the design layout, going in the item attribute. Under the base custom modification, I'll select extended style. So extended style has ask variable asking for to please specify the site application. So we have left and right. So let's select both of them, for example. So graphically, we have the two extended styles that have been added. We can go back and select the add-on on the left side here, going in his item attribute. So we have our bit field variable here. Please specify the site application. So let's remove, for example, left. Click on OK. So then we only have the right extended style. So this is one example with the bit field. And the other one I'm going to show you is one with the spice rack. on a wall cabinet. This one here, the wall cabinet, going into wall internal accessories, spice rack. So if we select the spice rack, we have our bit fill variable. Please specify door application here. So here we have first door, second door. I could have removed those options here based on the number of cabinet doors, a little bit like we saw previously with the filler type and the filler width. So this is something that could be done. So let's select the first door, for example. So then we have our spice rack on the first door. I can go back, edit the add-on, going in its attribute, select the bit field variable, and then select second door instead. Or go back and select door 1 and door 2, and then we're gonna have the spice rack on both doors. And it's the same thing. I have a wall cabinet here with 4 doors. So we can do the same thing here. The wall internal accessories, spice rack. So let's say door number 2 and number 4, for example. So we have the spice rack on door number 2 and door number 4. So these were the examples for the bit fill. Just to give you an idea of how the bit fields are working, the bit field, the possible values for a bit fill are starting with 1. We have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. So this is how it is working. So let's say, for example, that we have a bit field variable for bottom section with the 3 different options: bottom section, middle section, and upper section. So bottom section would have the return value of 1. The middle section would have the return value of 2. The upper section, the return value of 4. So if for the combination, because if it's only the bottom section, the return value will be 1 and so on. But if we have the bottom and the middle section that has been selected together, we're going to have a return value of 3. If the bottom and the upper section have been selected together, we're going to have a return value of 5, the 4 plus the 1. And same thing, the middle section with the upper section, we will have a return value of 6 in this case. And if all 3 options have been selected, we're going to have a return value of 7 for the bit fill. So this is how the bit fill return values are working. The ask variable, we have seen a few of them with the previous example that I have showed you. The towel bar, we have seen it previously in 2020. So we had the ask variable. So when we were clicking on the towel bar add-on, the system was asking for the positioning left or right for the pull-out. So if we go back, just to refresh. Okay, the pull-out towel bar. So if we select the pull-out towel bar, then the system is prompting a dialog. It's asking to answer a question, or it could be 2 questions, like with the filler example, with the filler width and the filler type. So you could have 2, 3, 4 different questions here. So this is the ask variable here. So it's a dialog prompting when we click on the add-on, asking the user to specify an option before adding the add-on on the cabinet, on the owner. And the way, just to make sure that everybody knows how to specify an ask variable, I'll go back in 2020 catalog tool. It's very easy. So if we go, for example, on the pull-out toolbar, the way to set ask variable is, well, you have to select the variable for which you want to ask a question to the users. So in this example here, please select the application side. We have used the flex quantity 33 for that matter, for this behavior. So this variable here, you just need to specify a question mark, and then in parentheses you put the default value that you would like to be set for this variable. So it's only a matter of putting a question mark in the variable expression and then in parentheses the default value. So this will make the dialog prompt when you will select the add-on on the owner item attribute. As an example, I can show you also, since I have created those examples, I'm going to show them to you. For the base open shelf, we can add wicker baskets, and this add-on has an ask variable. So the wicker baskets are under the base internal accessories. So if we click on the wicker basket, the system is asking to select the quantity. In catalog tools, I'm telling you, in catalog tools, even if at the first, when you first place the add-on, when you first add the attachment, even if you select something different here, it's not going to apply the first time. This is in catalog tools only. In 2020 design, it's applying the first time, but in catalog tools, even if you specify something different, it won't apply. So you need to click on OK when you're testing in catalog tools. Is it on the left side your add-on going in its attribute, and then change the variable value. So please specify the basket quantity, let's say 3, for example. That's a lot for this one, but so we have 3 different baskets here. So this was another ask variable prompting to specify the basket quantity when we have selected first the wicker basket add-ons. Okay. There are some accessories that have no access 3D or attachment shapes. Well, they don't need to have a distinct shape like an access 3D or an attachment shape from their owner. So they have predefined variables in the owner shape composition in the shape 3D of the cabinet to display their graphical representation. So these type of different accessories, they don't need a separate and specific access 3D or attachment shape. So below are the most common examples that we can have, that we often see in the catalog. So the drawer box style, which can be driven by the style drawer box, the different drawer accessories, which can be driven by the style drawer accessory variable, the door accessories, which can be driven with the style door accessory variable. And I think here I'm missing a one at the end. I'll have to verify just to make sure that I have the proper variable name here. The rollout tray styles, the related variables to display rollouts in the cabinets are NVRO, the number of vertical rollouts, number of horizontal rollouts, and the style rollout variable. And we also have the divider styles with number of divider and divider styles, the different valence styles with SVE, style valence frameless, style valence frame, and the different shelf styles with NS1. We can specify the quantity, and shelf style shelf variable. So these are the most common accessories which do not need necessarily an Access 3D or an attachment shape. It could be only those variables here that can be exported from the add-on to display their graphical representation on the owners. Okay, the next one is the Access 3D. So with dispatcher. So the Access 3D is an independent, distinct accessory having its own shape. The variables do not need to be exported to the owner. Here, I'm very specific. It's an Access 3D with dispatcher, not a simple Access 3D. I'm going to explain it on the next slide. So when we're using an Access 3D with dispatcher, the variables do not need to be exported to the owner. We have the ability to create 5 Access 3D for the same add-on. The Access 3D dispatcher can be used to add internal and external accessories. And we have an example here, which is matching end panel. So I'm going to go in Catalog Tools just to show you a little bit how this add-on is working. So if we go under external accessories, matching end panel, so we have the left and the right panel here. So it's like a little base skin panel with like a font door applied on the base and skin panel. So this is our matching end panel. So in this case here, we are using the dispatcher 334041. So this is our dispatcher. So the dispatcher, if I go back here, because we see a little bit better, and I'll try to, I would like to zoom in a little bit. Hold on. So can everybody see the Zoom picture on my screen? Okay, so so this is our Access dispatcher here, 334041, which includes both the base and skin panel and the font door here. So this is our Access 3D dispatcher. Then we have Access 3D1, which is the shape composition for the base and skin panel. And then Access 3D2, which is the shape 3D for our font door on the front. So if I go back, going back in 2020, so we have our access dispatchers here, which are defined at the higher level, 334041. We have the access 3D one, which is the shape 3D for the base and skin panel. And then we have the access 3D2, which is the shape 3D for the false door. And then we are positioning the two access 3D within the access dispatcher. So since this is a separate and distinct shape, and since we are using a dispatcher here, 334041, we don't need to export all of these variable, all of these access 3D variables, because usually when we have a simple access 3D to add, for example, a rollout in a base cabinet. So if we don't use any dispatcher and we only use the access 3D one and then we put the shape 3D of the rollout, we need to export those variables on the owner because it's the cabinet, the owner, that has those access 3D variables in its composition, and to display them, we need to set them on. We need to export those variables from the add-on. But in this case here, since we are using the dispatcher, we don't need to export all the different access 3D variables. So this was with the dispatcher. The other one with no dispatcher. So the accessory it's an accessory having its graphic in the owner shape. So the variable must be exported to the owner to display the accessory. You have the ability to add up to 5 access 3D on the same owner if the parent shape is expected to display this type of accessory, because some of the owner shapes 3D do not have the possibility to specify any access 3D. So it needs to be set up like this in the owner shape 3D. So the owner shape needs to have the ability to accept the access 3D. Otherwise, you're not going to go, even if you export the variables from the add-on, you're not going to be able to display your add-on on the owner if the owner was not set up to accept those type of accessories. The access 3D are mostly used to add internal cabinet accessories, but they can also be used for external accessories as well. I have 2 different examples of simple access 3D with no dispatcher in 2020, so I'm going to show them to you. And since we're not using a dispatcher in these cases, we need to export all the access 3D variables on the owner to display the graphical representation of these accessories. So in this case here, we have the tall, let's say it's a tall broom cabinet. I have removed for this purpose here the shelf within the bottom section. So we can select here tall internal accessories, closet rod. So we can add a closet rod here, which is an access 3D. So if we go on the add-on record, so our closet rod, it's an access 3D. So this is the shape for the closet rod. That is specified, that was specified for the Access 3D. So we have the different positioning and dimensions also of the Access 3D. So since we're not using a dispatcher here, but only an Access 3D, no shape, we don't have any shape 3D 334041. So these variables need to be exported to the owner. So the owner will receive that information, and the Access 3D1 variable on the owner composition will display the accessory in question. Then the other example that I would like to show you is the wicker basket that we saw previously. So the wicker basket are set up internal basket. So the wicker basket, I have set them up like Access 3D, different Access 3D. So we have Access 3D 1, 2, and 3 because our maximum quantity allowed for the wicker basket on a cabinet was 3, the maximum. So that's why I'm using those 3 Access 3D variables with their dimensions and positioning. And since in this case here I'm not using a Shape 3D, a dispatcher, I need to export all my Access 3D variables on the owner to make sure to display their graphical representation on the in the cabinet. So I don't need to show, I don't think it's necessary to show you the wicker basket added in the base cabinet because we saw them previously. Just before we go further, is there any questions so far? Okay, let's come.
Oh, hold on, I have a question here.
Okay.
From Dennis, I'm not sure that I understand AC3D. Why would one example use 334041 and the other not use 334041? What is the difference?
Well, it could be, well, I see 2 reasons. If you have an item using multiple Access 3D, like in the example that I showed you with the matching end panel, we had 2 different shapes. We had the base skin end panel, and we had the false door. So instead of using Access 3D1 and Access 3D2 and export all their variables to the owner, we are using the Shape 3D, the dispatcher, and then we are defining the Access 3D1 and Access 3D2, but we don't need to export all their variables to the on the owner because it's a separate separate shape in itself. The other reason that I see is it's not all the owner, the cabinet Shape 3D that are accepting Access 3D variables. So some of them don't have any Access 3D variables in their composition that you can set up. So if you need on a specific cabinet to add an accessory and you don't have any Access 3D variables in the owner composition, then you can use the dispatcher. And since you're going to use the dispatcher, the add-on is going to be a separate and distinct shape on its own, and then you're going to be able to add the add-on graphical representation on the owner. I don't know if if that was clear or if you would need additional details for
So if you need more details, please do send a note, and maybe we can touch base with you.
Yeah, or maybe Magali can explain it in her words. Maybe another way of
okay, so
explaining.
I have always used 334041.
334041. Yes, which is the dispatcher that we have covered with the different examples.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay.
It's because the question was, I'm not sure I understand AC3D. Why would one example use 33041 and another one use a different number, like not 33041? He's always used the same one, 334041.
Okay. He's always using the dispatcher.
Yes.
Right? Well, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. It's two different ways of doing them, but the way that the method that you are using, always using the dispatcher, that's a good thing to do. But we're just explaining the two different ways of doing the Access 3D. But it's good to be always working with the dispatcher. There's no problem.
Okay.
Okay. So for the other one is the attachment shape. So the attachment shape is an independent and distinct product having its own shape, like the Access 3D. It can be used for internal and external accessories, mostly for external accessories. Like I was saying previously, usually we use the Access 3D for internal accessories and attachment shape for external accessories, but both of them could be used for internal or external. There's no rules for that. The ability to create illimited attachment shape to add on the same owner. So if your accessories are set up as attachment shape, you can add multiple attachment shape on the same owner. So you're not limited to a certain quantity. So below are a few examples. I have created the additional shelf, an additional shelf attachment shape, the classic appliance garage, stemware rack, wall organizer that could be added below the wall cabinet. So I'm going to show you some examples in 2020. Just need to recall the additional shelf. Okay, was for the base. I have created the example. Okay. So let's say, for example, base door jar here. So I have used an attachment shape for the additional shelf. So if I select the additional shelf here, please specify the shelf length. So let's say, let's keep this one here as, I can make it automatic also to the interior cabinet width. This one here is 30, okay. So let's click on OK. So we have our additional shelf here that has been added. If we click on the attachment shape of the additional shelf, go in its attribute, we can change the positioning of that shelf in height. We could do the same thing in depth, which would not be logic, I think, but we could maybe add a little clearance at the back, I don't know. So we can change the positioning here in the height of the shelf. So when this type of add-on, using an attachment shape for additional shelf, it's nice also to have in tall cabinets because you can add those additional shelves and position them in the bottom, middle, or top section. So this is a nice behavior. So this was for the additional shelf. Let's see for the stemware rack under wall cabinets. Going in the item attribute, I will select under wall external accessories, stemware rack. Here I can add the 18, 24, or 30 because my cabinet is 30-inch wide. So let's say the 31. So then we have the stemware rack graphical representation that has been added. So if we go, just want to show you the add-on records to show you how it looks like with, let's say for the stemware rack. So we have, oh, this one is an Access 3D, sorry, or an attachment shape. No. Okay, sorry, this one is my mistake. It was an Access 3D, not, well, it's an attachment shape, but with the dispatcher attachment shape. So let's look instead at the additional shelf here. So this one here is an attachment shape. So we have the shelf shape 3D, and we have the different dimension of the shelf and positioning also of the shelf. And like previously mentioned, all variables for an attachment shape do not need to be exported on the owner because it's a separate and distinct shape on its own. So there's no need to export the variables to modify the owner. Okay, so now we are with the relations. So to create and organize the relationships efficiently, we suggest to group the add-ons by type to facilitate and expedite the creation of the relation. So this is a little bit similar to what we were discussing during our first WebEx section with the best practice. So we suggest to have base modification, base internal accessories, base external accessories, same thing for the vanity, the tall, and the wall. So we have different sections here which are set up this way. So we have the custom modification here. So we have the base, vanity, tall, and wall custom modification. Then under internal accessories, we have the base, vanity, tall, and wall internal accessories. And then under external, we have base, well, in this case here, I don't have the vanity, but we could have base, vanity, tall, wall, external accessories. Excuse me. So this is a way of organizing the add-ons to be easier to find the accessories and the attachment within the catalog. And then when it's time to create the relationships, let's go and reorganize relation view, add-on. So on the base level, so it's very easy like that. On the base level, you select base custom modification, base internal accessories, base external accessories. Same thing for the tall. Select tall custom, tall internal accessories, tall external, same thing for the wall, the vanity, and so on. And then afterwards, after adding the general group of add-ons, the modifications, internal and external accessories, which pertain to the specific cabinet type, then you could specify different exclusions, different add-on exclusions based on certain conditions afterwards. So it's easier like that to organize the add-ons using those subgroups like this, and then it's easier to create the relationships on the different product categories to add those different add-on groups, and then you can specify the different exclusion afterwards. I'm gonna skip this one. So this is what I was trying to display a little bit, and I think that we have covered this one here also during the first WebEx session. Whoops. So on the base cabinet and base corner cabinet, we should have base modification, base internal, base external accessories, and so on, like we just saw in 2020 catalog tool. We do not suggest creating add-on relationships between the owner and both add-on items and add-on groups to avoid disorganization within the add-on dialog and delays when troubleshooting for issues. Often, in different catalogs, what we can see is sometimes the relationships are done at group level, and sometimes they are made at the add-on level itself. So you can, sometimes you see different categories, and then whoops, you're gonna see a towel bar add-on, additional shelf, and then another subgroup, and then a panel. So it's a little bit difficult and to understand the add-on list and to search for products when the relations are done this way at the add-on levels and sometimes on the add-on groups. So we suggest always to do the relationships at the same level, always on the add-on groups, to make it easier and more visible and more aesthetically nice. Hold on. Okay, so like I was saying previously, once we are done with the creation, with the relationships for the add-on subgroups, we can exclude the unrelevant options where appropriate in the catalog. So below are a few examples here. I will go through the list, and then I'm going to show them to you in 2020 catalog tools what it looks like. So once we have our subgroup, add-on subgroup, we would like here to exclude the trash can pull-out accessories on cabinets that are already having a rollout, for example, default rollouts. We would like to exclude drawer box height modification on cabinets with no drawers. Would like to exclude the full height door modification on full height door cabinets. We would like to exclude glass type on cabinets with no prep for glass modification already selected. We would like to exclude stemware rack 36-inch wide on cabinet less than 36. In the last example, we would like to exclude glass type 12 to 18-inch height on cabinet smaller than 12-inch height or greater than 18-inch height. So these are different examples of add-on exclusion that could be set where appropriate in the catalog. And now I'm going to show you those examples in 2020. So going back on the base level, we have our subgroups. Then the trash can pull out. So we have the add-on exclusion relation type and the condition if the number of vertical rollout is higher or equal to 1. We don't want to see the trash can pull out in this case here. In this one here is another one also. No, this one here is an implicit. We're going to cover a little bit later. The drawer box height, so add-on exclusion type, if the number of cabinet drawer is less than 1. The full height door modification, add-on exclude if the number of cabinet drawer is less than 1. On the wall category here, we are excluding the stemware wall rack 18-inch wide if the width is less than 18. Same thing for the 24 is the width, if the width is less than 24, the 30 and the 36, same logic. For the glass type, I'm excluding all the glass type if the sound door wall is less than 2,000. When we are adding glass to cabinet doors, the sound cabinet door is starting from 2,000 and could be between 2,000 and I don't recall exactly the range of the different values, but when it's a prep for glass, because the example that I was trying to show you is like we did in like we saw in the PowerPoint, is that the glass type should be excluded if no prep for glass modification was selected previously. So on the prep for glass add-on, I have specified standard wall equals to standard wall plus glass, but the V-glass variable is set to 9999, so we don't see any glass on the cabinet door. So by adding glass to the cabinet door, the sound door number will be higher than 2,000, so that's why I'm excluding the glass type if the sound door wall is less than 2,000. And then we have under the different glass type, if we go C under the add-on structure, so under the glass type, under the glass type, we have the option for clear, smoke, gray, or mirror. But under each of them, you have 12-inch to 18-inch height, 19-inch to 30-inch height, and 31 to 42-inch height. So all those three different glass types have those different sizes available for the glass. So if we go back on the wall level, under the relation, so these are the exclusion that I have added. So I'm excluding all three subcategories 12-inch to 18-inch glass type if the height is less than 12 or the height is higher than 18. And same thing for the two other different heights for the glass type. So these are the different add-on exclusions. And I did the same thing with the appliance garage. So I'm excluding the appliance garage 18-inch wide if the width of the cabinet is less than 18. Same thing for 24, and 30 if the width is less than 30. So you can set different add-on exclusions at the higher level. It's always better to define and create the add-on exclusion at the higher level and put conditions, specify some conditions for their application instead of having multiple add-on exclusion all through the catalog. So it's better to have them at the higher level, but always using conditions, a condition for their application. Okay, so if we go back, do you have any questions so far before we go further for the presentation? Okay. Another type of relation, the implicit add-ons. So the implicit add-ons are being attached automatically on the owners to prevent the users omitting their additions. So below are a few examples that can be set as implicit add-ons. So if the owner's original width, height, and depth has been modified in the item attribute, then we could have implicit add-ons to add the charge related to those modifications. Definitions being applied automatically by 2020 design, we could have also implicit add-ons to add the charges for those modifications. Finish interior on cabinets with no door modification could be added also automatically to add a charge for them. So if we go, I'm going to go in 2020 design to show you those 3 examples of implicit add-ons. So I'm going to draw a wall. Place a wall cabinet. Okay. So in this example here, we don't have any add-ons right now for the width, the height, or a depth modification. So let's increase our width, for example. If I click on apply, then I have an automatic add-on for the width modification, which can have a separate charge for. Going back on the item on the cabinet, I can decrease the height, for example, click on apply, then I have the add-on for the height modification that has been added automatically, and that can also have its own separate charge. Then if I go back on the item, increase the depth, we're going to have the same thing. So we are now having a depth modification that has been added automatically with its own separate charge if needed. So these can be set automatically, these can be added automatically based on the different changes that the users are making directly on the owner's in the owner's item attribute for the width, the height, and the depth. So this is something interesting. Regarding the finish ends. So let's put, for example, a wall cabinet. Then 2020 is automatically assigning the finish end if there's no adjacent cabinet placed beside this one. So we have the right and the left finished side, and we have the automatic add-on being added for those finished side, which could have their own separate charges. So these are being added automatically. But I have to say and mention that if I place two cabinets beside the original one that we first placed, 2020, well, in version 9, these will be, the finish end options will get refreshed automatically. In version 11, they won't be refreshed automatically. I'm going to show you a workaround for right now. I have talked to the R&D team this week regarding this issue, and they will fix it shortly because it's important issue here. So they will fix it very shortly. So just in the meantime, what you can do to refresh, because the cabinet in the middle here, since it has a cabinet on the right and left side, shouldn't have any finish end automatic add-on anymore. So the little workaround for right now is to go in the global attribute. Then you can select one of the variables, just change it, return to the original value, click on apply, OK, and then the finish ends will get automatically refreshed. So for this one here, graphically we have the left finish end and we have the appropriate automatic add-on. For the middle cabinet, we don't have any finish ends since we have cabinets on each side. And then the last one, we have the right finish end with the appropriate automatic add-on. So like I said, it's only in version 11 for right now, but this is going to be fixed shortly. In version 9, it's working properly. You don't need to go in the global, under the global attribute menu. The refresh is being done correctly. Okay, I'm gonna, because I would like to cover, I'm gonna go maybe a little bit faster on the Ask add-on because I want to cover the add-on quantity, which is very important, and the door and drawer pull counts. The Ask add-on, if we go back into the presentation, PowerPoint presentation, the Ask add-on are prompting for a selection when placing the item on the design layout. So below are a few possible usage examples. So if you need, to add a sink from the room plumbing generic catalog to sink base cabinet. Example number 2, add a cooktop from the room appliance generic catalog to base cabinet. Add a filler to base corner blind cabinet. It could be also to add different leg type, size, or configuration to island tables, or add different corbels, columns, mantles to hoods. So I have created an example, and I'm going to show it very quickly. So if I draw 2 walls like that, place the baseline corner cabinet. When I'm placing the cabinet on the design layout, we are having a dialogue which is prompting. This is the Ask Add-on. So the dialogue is asking, would you like to place a base pillar with your base corner blind cabinet? So if we click on yes, base pillar, then we have our previous example that's a standard 3-inch wide. So then it has added the filler to the base blind corner cabinet. So same thing I'm going to show to you for the base sink, for example. So base sink, when placing a base sink cabinet on the design layout, we have the Ask Add-on dialog prompting to select a sink from the room plumbing catalog. So we can select any of the different sinks from the room plumbing generic catalog. So the relation in the catalog is a relation type of Ask Add-on, and it has been created directly with the sinks under the room plumbing catalog. So this is for the Ask Add-on. I want to show you the two last topics that are very important, the door and drawer count. So when selecting an add-on which modifies the owner configuration, the quantities for doors, drawer fronts, drawer box, door pulls, and drawer pulls must be adjusted on the owner if the catalog pricing method is per door. Below are a few examples of add-ons which require modification of door, drawer, or pull quantities. So let's say we add a modification for Peninsula, then we need to adjust the drawer front and the number of doors on the cabinet on the owner. If we select a modification to remove the doors on the owner, then we need to adjust the number of cabinet door. Same thing for full height doors. Modification, we need to modify, in this case, the number of drawer front and drawer box on the owner since we're having now full height doors. So if we go in 2020 design, because I want to show that to you. So if we place a base cabinet, and go under the price, so we see that we have 2 doors here and 1 drawer. We're going to go under the add-on tab and select Peninsula here. So if we go back under price, we have now 4 doors quantity, and we have two drawers now. Another example, if I select a modification to remove the doors on this one here. So I'm removing the doors here, and as you can see, I had an implicit add-on here, which is adding the finish interior add-on automatically when the remove door modification has been selected. So this is one of the implicit add-ons. So if I go back under the variable tab and under the price menu, now we don't have door anymore. So no doors, but we still have 1 drawer. And if we select, for example, the last example, a full high door modification, if we go under the price menu, the price menu, yes. So we still have 2 doors, but now we don't have any drawers anymore. So it's important to adjust those quantities when adding modifications to cabinets, and especially if there are any charges related to the doors or the drawers in the catalog. It's very important to address. For the add-on quantity, this is an important note. The modifications in 2020 design are computed only once, while the attachments are calculated based on their as quantity expression in the catalog. The modifications are having the root class 82, the attachments are having the root class 66. So if you put, for example, the root class 82 on a modification in your catalog, let's say, for example, the extended style that we saw previously, and you are selecting the right and the left extended style, you would like to have the charge multiplied by 2 and the quantity multiplied by 2 as well. But if the root class of this modification is set to 82, no matter which expression you will put in the as quantity, it's not going to work. 2020 will calculate only a quantity of 1 for the modification. I talked with the R&D this week, and this is going also to be fixed shortly in version 11, because it's not logic, it doesn't make sense. For 2020, when it's a modification, there's no 3D graphical representation associated to a modification. And when it's an attachment, then there's a shape 3D associated to this add-on. But like I mentioned to them, a prep for glass modification, for example, on the wall having 4 doors, like we saw previously. For me, the prep for glass is a modification. It's not an attachment. And we need to be able to apply the charge for the prep for glass 4 times, because we're having 4 doors on the same cabinet. So they acknowledge and they will do the modification, the fix, very shortly, because this is very important to be able to set up the accurate quantity, even for attachments or modifications within a catalog. But this is important to know for now, just to put the root class to 66 for an attachment if you want to be able to specify a quantity other than 1 on your add-ons. The accurate add-on quantity must be set properly, especially when a charge is related to these modifications, to calculate the correct total price. So here are a few examples: the prep for glass, the glass insert, the extended style if you have selected right and left, the wicker basket if you have selected 1, 2, or 3 wicker baskets. Okay, this one here, I think it shouldn't be there. I'm going to remove it. It should be, I think, on the previous two previous slides. So if we go back in 2020, I'm going to show you those examples with the different quantities. So if we go on our base cabinet and select an extended style add-on, so let's select left and right side application for the extended style. So graphically, we have the correct representation. And if we click on our add-on, under the General tab, we have a quantity of 2. We can go back here, then go under the Variable tab of our modification, select the variable, and remove the left one, for example. So graphically, the 3D is being updated. And if we go back here under the quantity, now we have a quantity of 1 for this add-on. For the wicker basket, I did pretty much the same thing, but it's just different examples to show you how it should be working. So if we add wicker baskets here to this base cabinet, hold on, am I at the correct place? Shopping. Yeah, it seems like where it is. I'm sure I have added the wicker basket on the basil pin shelf previously. I know why. Because I have the exclusion, the wicker basket are 15 or 18 inch wide, and I have the exclusion in the catalog if the cabinet width is wider or less than 15 and 18, sorry. Okay, so if I go under base internal accessories, basket, select, let's say, 2 baskets. If I click on the add-on record on the add-on on the left side, go under the variable tab, general tab, excuse me, the quantity has been changed to 2. I can go under the variable tab, change the basket quantity to 3, for example, going back under the general tab, and then the quantity has been updated to 3. So it's very important that the quantity is always following the graphical additions in order to have the total accurate price. Maybe I can complete and finish with the wall 4 doors on which we will apply, let's say, prep for glass. So here, if you look at it correctly, we don't have any glass inserts under the add-on list for this cabinet because we need the glass insert, if you remember correctly, is excluded if the user has not selected the prep for glass modification before. So let's click on prep for glass, and then you see the glass type has been added afterwards because we have selected the mandatory, if we can say, option before they can be listed in the add-on list. So if I click on the prep for glass on the left side, go under the general tab, the quantity has been updated to 4. So if we have a charge related to this modification, it's going to be multiplied by 4 because we have 4 doors. I just want to see if we have completed everything. The last slide, when having a validation with an enum return type involving multiple options, has both. Yeah, So it's important to set up the add-on quantity correctly, especially in those cases when you have a validation with an enum, and within the enum return type validation, you have an option both. So for both, you should have a quantity of 2 for your add-on. Same thing when you have a bit field validation. So if multiple bit fields have been selected, you need to adjust the quantity as well to make sure it represents the correct number. And maybe just to finish, I can show you the expression for what was this one here, which is
here's a question.
Extended style.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. It's before you start your next topic, do you want me to?
Yeah. Well, I just want to. I just want to show them how I did calculate the expression for the ask quantity, how to calculate the extended style, since it's a bit field validation. So if we go, I go on the extended style record, modification, if I can say. So the ask quantity, the expression, so if bit is used for bit field. So if bit for flex quantity 45, which is our ask variable to specify the side application, left or right, which has the bit field. So if the bit field return value of the variable flex quantity is 3, which means 1. If you recall correctly, the first option, the return value is 1, then the second option, the return value is 2. So if we have a return value of 3, it's because the left and the right have been selected together. So if the bit for flex quantity 5 is 3, then you put a quantity of 2. Otherwise, you put a quantity of 1. So this is the expression that I'm having here for the ask quantity for the extended style. So I think this covers pretty much everything for the add-ons. I would like to know if somebody has any questions regarding the presentation.
Okay, I have a question here from the chat. It says, we did not discuss in variable properties local, top evaluate in child context global. What are the differences? Yeah, well, local is usually the one that is being selected, which is the most common. Evaluate in child context, it seems that the behavior of that property has changed
in recent versions.
Yeah, in recent versions of 2020. So we want to make sure and verify and discuss with the R&D what is the expected behavior behind this option for evaluating child context. Is it valid anymore, and what does it do exactly if you check or uncheck this option? So we will get back to you on this one since there have been some changes recently.
So does that answer your question? Anybody else through chat or through the phone? Okay. Doesn't sound like it. Thank you, everybody. I will make this is Paula, I will make the webinar recording available to you through the partner portal and also the PowerPoint, and if there are any other documents that are associated with this presentation. So thank you all for participating, and if you have any follow-up questions, also feel free to send to, actually you can send them to me, and I will forward them off to the experts in the content team. So paula.colito at 2020spaces.com. Most of you have my email address. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.